Good morning everyone. I am Bipan Sutradhar, B.Ed first semester student from University BT and Evening College.
Now I am going to present my presentation on reading skill. So here is the content of my presentation. Introduction. Reading is the understanding of the written form of language by observing its meaning. This requires knowing the grammar of the language, knowing the use of punctuation, correct pronunciation, and increasing vocabulary. Arnold Barnett said, the aim of the reading as a whole is gradually to create an ideal life, a source, a refuge, an eternal source of inspiration. Hence, the reading is a complex, purposeful, interactive, comprehensive, and flexible activity that takes considerable time and resource to develop. Reading develops gradually. The reader does not become fluent suddenly or immediately. On the other hand, reading skill contribute to a child's reading ability. In other words, a reading skill is a cognitive ability which a person is able to use when interacting with the written text. Levels of reading. So, here are some basic levels of reading, and these are literal, interpretive, critical, and creative. Literal reading. The literal level is the most fundamental part of the reading. It covers both recognizing words on a page and connecting these words to their meaning. Therefore, this level of reading is unconscious learning and memorization stage. Interpretative stage. At this level, the reader enriches the previously acquired information by relating his prior experiences and knowledge to the new learning. So, in this stage, the reader is able to understand the underlying meaning of the text. Here, the reader takes a decision based on his own logic and assumptions. Critical level. This level is also called the reflective stage. Here, the reader engages in analytical reading of the critical issues contained in the reading. So, in this stage, the reader understands the underlying meaning of the subject through a deep judgment analysis of the specific context. For an example, to savor of a food item, one has to chew and chew it. Similarly, here, to savor a subject, one has to study deeply. Creative level. The creative phase of the reading is properly completed when the underlying meaning of the specific content related to the reading is fully understood in the reading phase. So the main objectives of this stage is to perform juice analysis. The creative thinking of the reader should be allowed to develop fully in such reading. Types of reading. Intensive reading. The intensive reading is the method of reading various content of the subject, rhythm, ornament, sound, juice, expression with full attention and relatively slow speed. The purpose of the intensive reading is to develop increasing reading skill with a goal or aim focused on the information. It really helps to understand and focus on grammar language. It concerns a serious and decent type of reading, not just like joy and fun. This method is used to study school subject carefully. Extensive reading. The reading is that keeps a fast pace of reading and reads different parts of large text subject, does not require much attention, concentration, and gently penetrate the subject to savor its literary beauty is called extensive reading. In extensive reading, one reads material in general to explore something new and focused is on understanding rather than its meaning. The best example of extensive reading is to read magazine and comic novel. Oral reading. Oral reading or loud reading is oral recitation through the pure pronunciation and correct use of language. The script of the language is recovered through the affective combination of philosophy and speech. Students can express their feeling through reading. In language learning, the practice of oral reading is found to be most effective for the students. This method is very useful in pre-primary level and lower secondary level. Silent reading. Silent reading is a very important for reading fine deep text such as essays. Silent reading takes less time and efforts. One of the major advantages of this reading is many students can study together in a classroom without disturbing each other through silent reading. Silent reading is used more in the higher grade of school, and silent reading is more effective as the intellect of the student teach this level. But due to lack of concentration and attention, this type of reading can be purposeless. Reading techniques. Skimming and scanning are the most effective reading techniques. Skimming. When a text is skimmed too quickly to impact in main point and content, it is called skimming. If these reading techniques can be mastered properly, one can skim over 1000 verses in a minute. For an example, you go to the book fair and judge the book by its cover or index and then purchase it. Scanning. The main of this type of the reading is to find the necessary information in the written text. In the scanning, one does not go to understand the written information, but the only focus is to find the needful information from the text. The best example of this type of reading is newspaper reading. Methodology of reading. Established purpose. These objectives must be clearly established before starting any reading. Only then can the valuable purpose of relevant reading be clearly established in the first stage of reading. Therefore, in the initial stage of the reading, several objectives must be determined before starting to read. Set objectives and criteria. Fair reading always conveys some kind of the message to the reader. However, to do it properly, it is essential to set the target quality. Estimate time. It is important to read textbook or specific reading material several times thoroughly. Next to the textbook, readers should understand the ease and complexity of the reading. Read critically. The method by which the reader has benefited from intensive reading on a particular subject may be collected in the form of text notes. It is necessary to mention that relevant and important notes related to close relating should be kept on personal initiative by the reader in short form, and it is recommended to clearly write down one's own special thought when necessary. Assess and reread until objectives are met. Several stages of reading and assessment are required until specific reading objectives are met. Synthesize information. Relevant information is necessary step in following the reading method properly. Learning with reading is related here. Proper application of the underlying content of the reading is essential. So, synthesis is the most sophisticated of comprehension strategy, combining elements of the connecting questioning. With this strategy, students move from making meaning to the text. So here are some activities by which the learner can develop his reading skill. These are reading habit before going to sleep, thinking aloud, library visiting habit, summarizing the story, analyzing, self-writing practice, mix of different style, practice set question, be critical, using labels. Conclusion. As the saying goes, learn as you long as you live. Education is the lifelong process, so reading has a special role in life. One of the objectives of reading is to develop study skill and